We spend so much of our lives connecting through screens, but what's actually going on behind them? In this explainer, we're going to unpack the core theories that explain our digital relationships. From the incredible friendships to the super toxic arguments.
I mean, think about it. We've all felt this, right? That surprisingly deep connection with someone you've only ever known through text or maybe a Discord server. How is it possible for a friendship to feel so real, so profound, when you've never even been in the same room together?
And then, of course, there's the flip side. A simple disagreement online can just explode into this vicious, all-out war in a comment section. So why does the exact same environment that helps us build deep connections also breed such intense negativity? That's the puzzle we're really digging into today.
To get our heads around this, we actually need to go back to the very beginning. The first theories about online communication all started with one massive question. Is this whole online thing just a watered-down version of real life?
So this first idea was called social presence theory. And honestly, it's pretty intuitive. The argument was simple. Without body language, without tone of voice or eye contact, a conversation just feels less, present. It feels more impersonal because all these crucial pieces of communication are just missing.
And for a while, that was pretty much the accepted wisdom. I mean, it makes sense, right? But as people spent more and more of their lives online, researchers started to notice something that just didn't quite fit this theory. People were forming real, genuinely deep connections. Something else had to be going on.
And this led to a completely new idea, Social Information Processing Theory, or SIP for short. Now, SIP theory proposed a radical shift. It said the problem isn't a lack of quality, it's a difference in pace. Think of it like this. Getting to know someone online is like trying to drink a really thick milkshake through a tiny straw. It takes a lot longer than just drinking from a glass, but, and this is the key, you can eventually get just as much milkshake. You can build that same level of intimacy, it just takes more time.
So online isn't necessarily less, it's just slower. Okay, but what if sometimes it could actually be more? This next idea is where things get really, really fascinating. This is the core claim of what's called the hyper-personal model, and it completely flips all those old ideas on their head. It suggests that under the right conditions, online connections can become even more intense and intimate than the face-to-face ones. So how on earth does that even work?
Well, it happens through a really powerful feedback loop. Let's break it down. So, step 1, you've got the sender. Online, we have total control. We can edit our messages, we pick the perfect emoji, we present the wittiest, most thoughtful version of ourselves. Now follow that loop over to step 2, the receiver. They take those perfectly crafted messages and, without any of the messy real-world stuff getting in the way, they fill in the blanks with their own imagination, they create an idealized image of the sender. And this kicks off a cycle where both people just keep reinforcing these idealized versions of each other, making the connection feel incredibly intense, incredibly fast.
Okay, so we're starting to get how these intense relationships can form, but what about our actual behavior? Why do people say things online that they would never, ever dream of saying to someone's face?
This is explained by something called the online disinhibition effect. It's basically the idea that when we're behind a screen, the normal psychological barriers that kind of govern our behavior can just evaporate. We feel anonymous, maybe we feel invisible, and that changes everything about how we act.
And this effect has two very, very different sides to it. See, this disinhibition isn't inherently good or bad. On one hand, it can be benign. It can lead us to open up, to share our deepest feelings, and show incredible kindness to total strangers. But that exact same force can turn toxic. It can unleash rudeness, harsh criticism, and that awful online harassment we call flaming. It is the same psychological switch that powers both our best and our absolute worst online selves.
With all of these new online dynamics, it's pretty easy to think that the old rulebook for human connection has just been completely thrown out the window. But you know what? That's not quite true. Some of the classic rules of the game still very much apply.
Here's the crucial point. Fundamental human psychology hasn't changed. Take a classic like social penetration theory. The idea is that we build intimacy by slowly revealing more about ourselves, layer by layer, like an onion. That is just as true in our DMs as it is over a cup of coffee. Or look at exchange theory. We are still constantly doing a little cost-benefit analysis in our heads, weighing the rewards of a friendship, like likes and support, against the costs, like our time or potential drama. The game is the same. It's just the platform that has changed.
So that brings us to our final big idea,
This is one that totally redefines a fundamental concept of human connection. What does it even mean to be close to someone anymore?
There's this old idea in sociology called propinquity. It basically just says we tend to form relationships with people we are physically near, our neighbors, our coworkers. Well, electronic propinquity theory is the update for the digital age. It argues that we can now create this incredibly powerful sense of psychological closeness online that can be just as strong, if not stronger, than physical proximity. So, how is that feeling created? According to the theory, it really boils down to two key things. First, we just get better at this. We develop enhanced communication skills for text, we learn the language of the internet, how to convey complex emotion and tone, and second, there's repeated exposure. It's the digital version of seeing the same person at the coffee shop every single day. Constantly interacting with someone in the same Discord server or the same group chat builds this powerful feeling of familiarity and closeness.
So there you have it. We have a kind of map for how we connect online, from that slow sip of information to these crazy hyper-personal loops and this brand new idea of digital proximity. These theories, they really help explain the how and the why of our online lives. But they also lead to a much bigger question, don't they? Who are we becoming because of all these connections? As we spend more and more of our lives navigating by this digital map, what kind of people does it ultimately turn us into? That's definitely something to think about.